Today on the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast, we have a guy whose business is down $1 million. A small business is going to lose $1 million. Why? Because of Joe Biden, COVID-19, and the shipping backlogs. Oh, yeah. Also, Let's Go Brandon starts ruffling the feathers of everyone on the left, and that's why we got to scream it even louder.
Why aren't the people in Washington putting themselves in harm's way? Why aren't they walking the walk as well as talking the talk? Their position in Washington is to do the will of the people. I don't see anybody in Washington doing the will of the people anymore. The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I am DML, and you are listening to the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast. The exclusive sponsor of this program is DMLCBD.com. Go there today and get the best CBD products that can make you feel great again. This podcast is for independent thinkers who want to recapture the great American experience, and they know it all starts with sharing the unfiltered facts, truth, and opinions I give you every day. Today's podcast will both shine a light on the solutions that can fix our nation's biggest problems, and it will make you the smartest person in the room. Here we go. On Friday, Amazon and Apple, both the two biggest names there is in business, two biggest names there is in the stock market, they both put out warnings. And they both, Amazon had posted less than favorable earnings for the quarter. And they also put out guidance for the future quarter. Both of them stating that the supply chain issues that are going on around the world and impacting in a huge way businesses here in the United States, including ours. You hear me talk about it all the time with DML CBD, how it is that we see the future being a little harder to forecast than usual, simply because we don't know when we're going to get supply in. And I will tie this all back to Joe Biden as much as anybody else will. But obviously, a lot of it has to do with the COVID and the COVID nonsense, the over-dramatization of the COVID nonsense that's happening not only here in the country, but around the world. Today, we're going to speak to a guy named Dan Ritchie. He's from Florida. He's got a business, a small business, but he ships things all over the world. We're going to talk to him because he's being negatively impacted by what's taking place at all these ports where you see the ships just backed up. They can't get to port. They can't unload. Some of these things are sitting out there for longer than a month. It's hard to find truckers who will ship this stuff or bring it around, transport it around the United States. We've got a lot of problems. And meanwhile, Joe Biden and this administration are more worried about whether or not mommy and daddy are going to be a domestic terrorist at the next school board meeting. So with that being said, Joe Biden is now paying a deep price. Finally, there was a video over the weekend that was sent to me, and I said, I'm going to open the program with this on Monday. It's from Meet the Press. Now, Meet the Press, you couldn't get the only person that I ever knew to be more liberal than anybody on NBC, ABC, or CBS was Liberace. But Liberace's dead. So now it turns out to be that it is the media. The most liberal, radical people in our society are the media. But when Meet the Press, when Chucky Todd actually starts complaining about Joe Biden, you know that you've hit a new low. We're going to chalk up a video right now. We're going to play it for you in full. This was Meet the Press over the weekend over concerns of what's happening with Joe Biden. Go ahead.
We have a brand new NBC News poll out this morning that's filled with some scary news for the Democrats. The overarching message: Americans have lost their confidence in President Biden and their optimism for the country. At least they have right now. Just 22% of adults say we're headed in the right direction. A shocking 71% say we're on the wrong track. And that includes a near majority of Democrats who are saying that. President Biden's approval rating stands at a dismal 42% versus 54% who disapprove. Believe it or not, just 2 months ago, Mr. Biden was in positive territory, 49% approving, 48% disapproving. So what's pulling down the president's numbers? Well, look at this set of numbers. Just 37% say he has the ability right now to handle a crisis versus nearly a majority who say he does not. 37% also say he's competent and effective as president. 50% disagree with that description. What's more, Republicans, believe it or not, have double-digit leads in dealing with border security, inflation, crime, national security, the economy, and shockingly on getting things done. Democrats hold generally smaller double-digit leads on dealing with climate change, the coronavirus, education, and abortion. And that's really it right now. It's not clear yet whether any deal struck by Democrats on the social spending and infrastructure bills will nudge Mr. Biden's numbers back into positive territory, or whether the damage to his reputation is more of a scar than a bruise. But this much is clear. About the only good news for Mr. Biden and the Democrats in this poll is that the midterm elections aren't for another year.
That being said, I want to bring in somebody who is feeling the pinch just as much as anybody. You know, we hear about Amazon and we hear about Apple. Well, those companies have billions of dollars sitting in the bank. They'll be able to weather the storm. Trust me when I tell you, maybe their stock prices will fall. But I'm more concerned about the entrepreneurs out there, the business owners out there who get up every day, don't have a stock price that just goes up on a whim and says, oh, I'm worth $1 trillion almost. I'm talking about the guys and gals who are really grinding it out, who create jobs for Americans and are, as far as I'm concerned, the backbone of this country. On the phone with me now is Dan Ritchie. Dan Ritchie is out of Vero Beach, Florida. I saw a video of him not too long ago about how it was that he is suffering hugely from supply chain issues. Dan, start off telling us about what's the name of your business and what exactly do you do?
Hi, Dennis. Good to be with you this morning. We are a fresh fruit grower, packer, and shipper of grapefruit, primarily into the global market. We've been doing this since 1960, family-run business. As you said, it's guys like us that are living these challenges that people read about or see on television. We're in the trenches and feeling it every day.
So grapefruits. I mean, so grapefruits, they only have a certain shelf life, right? I mean, or do you pack them a certain way where they get to last longer?
Well, we try to do everything that we possibly can to extend shelf life, but it's still a perishable item that needs to get to market in a timely manner. And 80% of our fruit here from our company named Riverfront Packing Company, which is the marketing and packing company of our vertically integrated entity of groves, harvesting, packing, shipping, is such that we do all we can to maintain a long shelf life, because in a typical year, it's about 14 to 16 days for our fruit to travel to the European Union and about 30 to 32 days to travel to our two key markets in Asia, which are Japan and Korea.
All right. And so that's the norm. Where are we right now?
That's a disaster, Dennis. I've got fruit all over the place. In some cases, I don't even know where it is. This is the beginning of our season. So the Japanese market and the Korean market likes to get the fruit there first. So one mechanism in which way we try to accommodate them is we truck the fruit to the West Coast, put it on a vessel either in Long Beach, LA, or Oakland, and get it there as quickly as possible. That ends up taking about 2 weeks off a normal 32, 34-day voyage. So that would typically be 20 days. In the environment we're in right now, we've shipped fruit by truck to those three ports as early as the 15th of October was our first departure. And that fruit today has yet to find a vessel. It should be in Busan, Korea, or Tokyo, or Kobe, or Osaka right now. And it's sitting somewhere out in LA and Long Beach. I don't think those guys out there, as a matter of fact, the biggest joke in LA and Long Beach right now is that they were told to work harder and longer by President Biden. That's a joke. You don't tell longshoremen what to do.
No, I hear you 100%. So let's take what's happening right now to you. So normally you'll go through that process as you just explained. It gets to the ports and it gets on a ship and it gets to Japan, let's say. They get their fruit, and I'm assuming you probably get paid 30 days later, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So now you've shipped this fruit. It's somewhere in LA. You can't even track all of it, let alone it hasn't got even on the vessel yet. When it gets on the vessel, if and when it gets on the vessel, Dan, how long until it gets to Japan?
If and when it gets on the vessel from Los Angeles to Japan is probably 2 weeks.
Okay. So now let's assume for the moment that by the end of today, your fruit ends up on a vessel. And if that 2 weeks stays the norm, how long would it have been before the Japanese customer receive that fruit from the time that you shipped it?
Probably 6 weeks after it goes through all of the issues it has to go through with customs, et cetera. So 6 weeks.
Okay. What's the odds that when that fruit gets there, it's still going to be fresh and that the Japanese aren't going to tell you, hey, I'm sending this back?
As long as the cold chain has been maintained, Dennis, it should be okay. The problem that I'm having right now is I can't track the fact of the cold chain has been maintained on this product. We shipped it at about 48 degrees. If it somehow or another did not maintain refrigeration and it spiked to 70 or 80 degrees for any period of time, when they open that container, it could be grapefruit juice instead of grapefruit.
Oh, my goodness. So, all right. So, Dan, you've been around since 1960. So you guys have seen a lot of different things in your day. In fact, your company has been in business longer than I've been on the planet. So of all those years, all your family, you know, has your family ever witnessed anything like this before in 61 years?
Not from a shipping standpoint, Dennis. No, nothing even close. This is, I'm getting calls in the middle of the night. Hey, send the truck. It's on its way to LA. Send it to Oakland instead because we're backed up here. And then 4 hours later, I get a call. Hey, turn that truck around from Oakland. I say, he's already there. Well, turn him around. There's no equipment there. We don't know when the boat's going to come into Oakland, and we don't even know if there's any container. We've never, ever dealt with anything like this. It's crazy.
Now, when you speak to your customers over in Japan, and again, I'm focusing on Japan. I know that you also do throughout Europe, and you mentioned some of the other places, but just to make things easy. So in Japan, when your customers in Japan are calling you, you're communicating, are they understanding about this issue or are they getting pissed off?
Well, they're getting pissed off. They're understanding that it's out of our control, but they're still pissed off because they have told their retailers. We deal with importers that then sell to retailers, and the retailers have expectations. They've gone out on ad. They've advertised, hey, fresh Florida grapefruit will be here on this day. Customer comes in, there's no Florida grapefruit. It makes them look bad. Therefore, they're angry with their importer. Their importer understands our end of the equation. The bottom line is, though, if that fruit arrives with decay or has problems and they don't want it, that's on my dime, not theirs. They just say sorry, and we don't get paid for it.
I hear you. So now, how much, and I'm going to get to what it is you're told when you make these phone calls and you get the phone calls in the middle of the night. I'm going to get to all of that. I want to get to that at the end. But I want people to really understand more about the sort of pain that you're going through in all this. So when you look at your business, Dan, and I don't want to get too personal, you're a private company, but when you look at your business and how this is impacting, I mean, how much of your business is shipping grapefruit overseas?
80%.
80%. So as of right now, is there any place where your fruit is getting to the destination on time?
Atlanta, New York, maybe. I mean, there's a shortage of trucks also, but our domestic shipments, the 20% that we do domestically, is getting there relatively on time, but there is nothing going into the international market that's getting there timely.
Okay, so Dan, I'm a businessman. I've been a businessman since I'm 18 years old. So if my revenue each month is $100,000, and I'm using the same stats that you are in terms of percentages of business, I know I need to operate my business on $100,000. I've built my business around $100,000 a month revenue that I know sometimes will go up, sometimes will go down, but it basically fluctuates within that 100,000 realm. Maybe sometimes it's 90, maybe on bad months it's 82, but then I know I get 120,000 sometimes. But what you're talking about right now is that your business, you're not getting paid if you're not delivering the goods. So $100,000 a month business that has built employees and other parts of the facility and everything else, all the cost structures to support that $100,000 business. Right now, you've only got $20,000 of revenue coming in because the other 80,000 is not happening. How long are you going to be able to sustain this as a company?
You're describing my sleepless nights, Dennis. Exactly. We will not be able to sustain these unknowns as you described from your business life. You want to mitigate the variables that are the unknowns. And right now we have the largest unknown or the unknown that we have is the largest source of our revenue. We've got over $1 million, and we're not a big company. I mean, we're one of the largest shippers of grapefruit out of Florida to the international market, but in the scheme of global business, that's not very big.
Right.
And we've got over $1 million of fruit sitting out in ports in Los Angeles, LA, Long Beach, and Oakland. And I'm not even sure where it is. I'm not sure if it's plugged into a generator to keep the cooling unit running. I have sleepless nights right now, and this thing is it's tough. But to pivot and move to just domestic marketing basically gets away from our core of who we are. We've developed these relationships with these customers internationally for years, and to just give up on them, and that's not in our DNA. We're going to keep on trying, but we're at the whim of a governmental issue that is very stressful.
All right. So then let's get back to the issue itself at hand. And this is the part that I was waiting for towards the end of our interview here. I want people to really understand what's happening here, because, you know, when you read about this, Dan, or you hear about it on Fox News, let's just say, for instance, you know, it's a 3-minute, 4-minute hit on Fox News. They usually got some person there who just, you know, is an economist or just an anti-Biden person, and they'll just start going into a 2-minute rant, and it's not, you come away with nothing. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because you're really living this, and you're not Amazon and you're not Apple. You're a small business, and $1 million to Jeff Bezos at Amazon is like, you know, 10 cents to you and me. I mean, you got $1 million out on the street right now that you may never, ever see. And that has got to be making you sick to your stomach. So when you're making the phone call, Dan, when you're calling Oakland, when you're calling different places, when they're telling you we have no equipment, we have no this, we have no that, I mean, what's your response to them?
Well, it's crickets at first, because I'm not used to hearing that. You know, it's a very helpless feeling. I like to be in control of our destiny and control of our business. And when you take one segment out of it, I guess the best way to describe it is just helpless. You feel helpless, and you just have to, you're begging and hoping you'll get a call back that, hey, we found something.
No, all right. So now you're going through that, and you're basically coming away with nothing. And at this point, your only plan is hope. And so what is it that's causing all of this? What is it that's causing the truckers? And what is it that's causing the movers? And what is it that's causing these ships not to come in and go out on time?
Well, the global supply chain typically is a very well-greased system. And when you put a kink in that system, the trickle down and the backup that happens when you have one simple little hiccup in that system, it creates this. These ships, they only make money if they're moving. They don't make money when they're sitting at port or at anchor. But when one that comes in and it's late, and there's 3 more behind it that are going to be late, and then the 10 behind that are going to be late, and it trickles down to having 67 to 70 boats offshore anchored off of Long Beach and LA, when typically there's 2 or 3. So that system is so well greased. You put one little kink in that system, and this is what you have. The Suez Canal blockage didn't help, but that's not the root of it. When a port in China, whom we rely on way too much for, shuts down because of COVID, the 3rd largest port in the world, and you have a vessel system that is going through that port with hundreds of ships during that period that it shut down, it just lock-jammed this whole system up. And I don't see it recovering during our season, which ends in April. We're going to deal with this all season. So I'm not sure how we're going to work through it.
You know, I don't see it ending either. Right? It's funny. There's a story in the Wall Street Journal today. In fact, I'm going to bring it up right here. It says mariners can now get COVID vaccines at port after months stranded at sea. Crews on cargo ships are receiving shots worldwide, preventing more supply chain disruptions and allowing them to finally disembark. So am I here to believe that the reason why ships aren't coming in and out is because they don't have a COVID vaccine?
I'm not, that's part of it. They won't let these guys disembark. They won't let these crew come off the ship because of the lack of vaccine, and or you've had some cases where a ship is disembarked, it's left, and then somebody tested positive, and therefore they just anchored that ship for the 2-week period. It's insane what's going on all this.
Oh my God, this is the biggest scam. I tell you, I asked you the question: has your family ever seen this in 60-something years? Dan, I've been around for 52 years. I got to tell you, I've seen some crazy shit. I ran from those towers on 9/11. I have seen red tide down here in Florida, especially on the West Coast. I mean, like you see all those dead fish. You're like, my God, this is like a Steven Spielberg movie. Of all the craziness I've ever seen in my life, I have never seen anything more crazy than what has taken place in the last 2 years, and now even more so, what has taken place in the last 8-9 months since Joe Biden's in office. I give you the final word. You could say whatever you want. You could talk shipping supply, you could talk politics, whatever you want, Dan.
Well, that's a broad subject opportunity for me, Dennis. Thank you. I mean, the political situation in this country is a disaster. We have got to get back to where we were. We've got far right, far left. I get all that. People have gone to their corners. My hope is that somehow or another we'll begin to be able to work together and get back to where this country is. It's the greatest country in the world. It needs to maintain that position. I could go on and on and on, Dennis, talk about everything. I too saw the towers. And I was up there for the 20th anniversary, ran the Tunnel to Towers run with those great men that survived that. I just think that right there, the 20th anniversary, that makes you sit there, you look at the Freedom Tower and you say to yourself, what happened to this country? We've got to get it back. We've got to get this train back on the rails. I hope it happens soon.
That being said, this wasn't part of our planned conversation here about your business. I've never met you before. I just only saw you on the video there. But, I've been a Floridian now for 10 months, but I've been coming back and forth here for years. And I got to tell you something. I think Ron DeSantis is the greatest governor of all time. And I think he would make a great president, although I don't want to lose him here in this state. What's your take? I mean, your family has been here forever. Is he one of the better governors that you've seen in Florida?
Yes, he is. I mean, I'm obviously, Jeb Bush is a friend of mine and a guy that I was a very big proponent for. So I would have to say that Jeb did an excellent job during his period, during tort reform and getting this state back where it was. We've had a hiccup since then, but Ron has certainly done a wonderful job. He has stayed the course. He's a very bright guy. Very skilled guy. I've had lunch with him a couple times. I've gotten to know him. He's very cerebral. He's very smart. He's not that dynamic dynamo personality, but that's just not who he is. He's a bit of an introvert, but therefore he may not have that pizzazz and the bullshit that some of these guys have. But he's right on point. He has run this state extremely well. I wouldn't change anything he has done here. I'm very proud of the job he's done, and I'm proud to live in this state where we have a governor that gets it. Yeah,
I tell you, I think in this particular case, Dan, that the lack of pizzazz, the lack of showmanship, I mean, he's not going to be able to pull a Trump rally off like Trump can. He just doesn't have that personality. But to be quite honest, I think this country has had enough of the personalities. I mean, the showman, Trump was a showman. There's nobody who was a bigger showman than Barack Obama. And then, of course, now we've got Joe Biden, who can't find his ass with both hands. I would like to have a guy that you just described, that you went to dinner with. That's who I would like leading this country. Somebody who doesn't need to see that he's got a lot of likes and shares on Facebook or Twitter. Somebody who's just looking at the policies that he stands for, that he ran on, and is going to work to get it done. I think we need a little dryness in the White House, to be quite honest.
I agree 100%. He's in a small group, one-on-one or with a small group. He's very dynamic. His personality comes out. He's just not going to play the bullshit role and do all the fanfare, and he's not going to tolerate media's stupid questions.
I love it, Dan. Thanks a lot, man. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. I hope you find your fruit, and I hope it gets out there. I hope you recapture that money. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair at all.
Thanks, Ben. It's good to be with you.
All right, buddy. All right, well, there you go. There's Dan Ritchie out of Florida. You're getting it firsthand. You're getting a description of what it is that these guys are having to deal with firsthand. And that's why I wanted to have him on the program. An everyday guy who's running a business and running into the nightmares brought on by Joe Biden and the COVID-19 scandemic. That being said, I'm going to read you a statement. We're going to keep on COVID-19 for a second. Jen Psaki, the most evil woman to ever stand at a podium, she has COVID, even though she's vaccinated. She put out a statement. I'm going to read that statement to you right now. There you go. I don't have my glasses on. I should have had my glasses on. Oh, Sucks getting old. On Wednesday, in coordination with senior leadership at the White House and the medical team, I made the decision not to travel the foreign trip with the president due to a family emergency, which was members of my household testing positive for COVID-19. So Jen Psaki didn't go to the G20 or whatever the hell they're calling it crap. She didn't go because her family had COVID. She didn't. But since then, I have quarantined and tested negative via PCR for COVID on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. However, today, which was Halloweeny, I tested positive for COVID. Oh my God. While I have not had close contact in person with the president or senior members of the White House staff since Wednesday and tested negative for 4 days after the last contact, I am disclosing today's positive test out of an abundance of transparency. I last saw the president on Tuesday when we sat outside more than 6 feet apart and wore masks. The level of stupid can't get any worse. Yes, it is, DML. Read the next paragraph. Oh, sorry. Little brain in my head. Thanks to the vaccine, I have only experienced mild symptoms, which has enabled me to continue working from home. Oh my God. Oh, this woman. Only her mother can love her. I will plan to return to work in person at the conclusion of the 10-day quarantine following a negative rapid test, which is an additional White House requirement beyond CDC guidance taken out of abundance of caution. So I guess depending on how you look at things, the good news, bad news is that President Biden was tested for COVID and he doesn't have it. So it's not like she could have infected the big guy. Looks like everybody's going to be okay. Come on, man. Get the shot. Another breakthrough case. And of course, she's not dying. Has nothing to do with the fact that she's in her 40s. Has nothing to do with the fact that she looks like she's pretty healthy and spry. But it's the vaccine. You know, the vaccine that's supposed to protect you. You're supposed to get a vaccine so this way you don't catch something. But she caught it. She caught it because the vaccine doesn't work. Because the vaccine is bullshit. The vaccine is so Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson and Moderna can have their stock price go higher and higher. That's all it is. Now, my wife informed me over the weekend that John Bon Jovi, she used to be hot and heavy for John Bon Jovi. My wife used to love John Bon Jovi. Then she found out that he was a freaking flaming liberal and that she doesn't like John Bon Jovi anymore. But I think she still winds up keeping in touch with what he's doing, which is questionable. And she told me that John Bon Jovi just had to cancel one of his concerts because he too has COVID and he too is a breakthrough case. Don't you just want to go out and get the shot right now? I've never been more enticed to do it myself. Yeah. You want to know why I tell you all the time that this is the greatest scam? Now, you know, my wife, I talk about my wife on here all the time. You know, and so on Friday, I think I had a fantastic show on Friday. Got a lot of feedback from everybody. It was talking about how it is that the Biden administration is talking about giving $450,000 to each one of these criminals, also known as illegal aliens who got separated from their child, or so they say it was their child at the border. Yeah, I went ape shit on that one. And during my ape shitness, and excuse my French, but it is the G20. I mean, everybody's talking French now, right? With Mr. Manuel. So excuse my French fries, but my wife says to me, you know, you shouldn't say that COVID's a scam. You know, some of your listeners may have lost somebody due to COVID. Well, let me be the first one to say, if you lost your family member, I don't care what they died of, a car accident, cancer, whatever, my heart goes out to you. Nobody ever wants to lose somebody that they love. My heart goes out to you. So never is my assault on the COVID scaredemic about my lack of understanding for that people have died with COVID, or because they had underlying issues and COVID came in and sort of kicked it as bad as it could be kicked. I get it. I understand. I have friends who have lost family members because I'll give you an example. We have a great friend at the marina that we go to all the time. Her mother had underlying issues. She was also grossly overweight. She had to go to the hospital because of those issues. And it turned out to be she caught COVID while she was in there and she died. So, did she die of COVID, or did she die with underlying issues and COVID helped those issues go to the next level, which will cause death? I don't take that lightly. I don't joke about it. What I'm telling you is that in the same measure that an 80 or 90-year-old with underlying issues or obesity would be at high risk of the flu, when we start shutting down businesses like Dan's business, when we start shutting down the world over the flu, it's insane. But then when you got Jen Psaki trying to lie to you and pawn off to you that she only has a mild case because thank goodness of the vaccine, it's just BS. Some of the world's leaders, most of the world's leaders are overseas right now, and they're taking photo ops, just like your president is. Don't tell me he's my president. He's not my president, DML. Don't say that again. Let's go, Brandon. So anyway, with that in mind, I want to play you a little video to show you the scam. It's a scam. So had we not had this video, you would just think that all these G20 leaders are sitting there and putting their masks on out of fear of catching COVID, right? Like Jen Psaki. Thank God I had my mask on. Yeah. So you're seeing 5 of the world leaders. They're all there with their masks and they're taking photo ops. Listen to the photographer who's in the back, what he says towards the end of the video. Go ahead. You go full screen if you want.
Thank you. Thank you. Same with Steve.
Yes. So there you go. They're told to take their masks off. See, it was the photo op. It was the misleading photo op of having your photo taken with your masks on, and then they take their masks off. That right there is a scam. You're being scammed. Dan, the grapefruit man, is being scammed. We're all being scammed. Yeah, COVID, like the flu, dangerous, don't want to catch it, right? But not any way a detriment to the survival of the world. And I'll tell you what, I have been catching some of the headlines from this summit. And let me tell you, these leaders aren't stupid. They're starting to catch on that even the most dumbest of people are starting to realize that this is all just being played out way too long, way too exaggerating. Oh yeah, we are exaggerating this to the nth degree. So they're going to need a plan to keep it going. And they're talking about climate change and that we are on the cusp of the abyss, baby. The climate change is just going to rip us all down. I am telling you the next iteration of your lockdown shutdowns. Get ready. Mark off this statement I just said. Within the next 6 to 8 months, you're going to see that COVID surge one more time because they're going to play the winter. And any case upload, any uptick there is in cases, it's going to be the next variant. But once that ends and the world doesn't collapse, you are going to see them go for the very next thing, and they're going to revert back to climate change. And there are going to be lockdowns, shutdowns, and restrictions on your life, on your business, and on your country, because they are going to make this sound like climate change is here. It's worse than COVID. We're all going to blow up. The other scam that I want to just end the show with here today is the scam of racism and the scam of the one-sided track mind, the one-sided messaging that gets put out every single day in this country. I received a lot of compliments from our program over the weekend in which I interviewed my daughter, Ashley. And one of the things we talked about was her travels with me when we were making films. Now, I'll make jokes here or there. I have a program where obviously I'm talking about all things that happen in the country. So, of course, I'm going to be labeled a bad guy because I'm against illegal immigration. Of course, that makes me a racist. And I'm against CRT and being taught in schools. So, of course, I'm a racist. And I am against the masks and against the vaccine mandate. So, of course, I am a domestic terrorist. And then, of course, I also bring out the statistics about the Black community. And so then that makes me KKK. Although my daughter looks like me, and although she's really smart like me, she doesn't make those kind of jokes. She doesn't make those kind of anything. She's just nice. Yeah. And she always says nice things about people. She's like a mother when it comes to that. I asked her, how do you feel about illegal immigration? She says, because I saw what I saw down at the border making the film with you, Dad. You know, and when I say making the film, she's just a camera person. I said, hey, point the camera over there. Okay, Dad's walking over there. I'm going to go over there by that border thing. If I get shot and killed, run away. Aside from that, that's it. But she's seen it firsthand. And I said, well, what do you think about it when you hear in the news that they say that if you're against illegal immigration, that means you're a racist? Because you've never said anything in your life that's racist ever. I've never even heard you. You won't even laugh at some of my jokes. And she says that has nothing to do with race. She's like, I wouldn't care if the people coming in from Scotland or Ireland or wherever it is, you know, people coming in across the border illegally because it's so bad down there. Okay. So when you get a smart young millennial, I don't even know that millennial Generation X, I don't know what generation, a 20-something-year-old saying, hey, listen, it's not really racist. We need more people pushing back. And I mean pushing back heavily. Because the word racist means that you believe that another group of people is less than your group of people. Okay? All right. With the definition of racism being put out on the table, we have allowed Black Lives Matter. We have allowed the media. We have allowed just almost every aspect, even big businesses around the country who bought into this BLM stuff and now teach inclusion and how not to make another race feel terrible. Nobody does that. I've been a baseball fan for a long time. And when I heard that the Cleveland Indians actually changed their name because it was, well, not fair, it wasn't nice, following in the footsteps of the Washington Redskins, who changed their name, you got to be kidding me. There's nothing racist about it. Well, you know what happened? We all folded. The Cleveland Indians folded. The Washington Redskins folded. Everybody folded. American Express folded. Coca-Cola, who told you to have a Coke and a smile, but don't be too white. All these places folded, and they all helped sell the other scaredemic that this country was racist and it was going to fall off the abyss because it's so racist. So we've got to do things like change the names of our sports teams, and we've got to start training our white employees to understand what it's like to be Black. Insanity, I tell you. The only way to end it is to not allow them to silence you. See, when people run and change their name, you're buying into that and you're giving them more power. Well, with that said, I'm going to play a video that gives me a little promise on this Monday that the people of this country are starting to wake the F up. The next thing, the next iteration of racism that the media is trying to sell is that the chop. For those of you who are Atlanta Braves fans, or any of those of you who ever watched a baseball game, especially going back, I think it was in the, around the late 90s, the Atlanta Braves were like the New York Yankees. They were winning everything all the time. And the chop started. And basically the crowd stands there and they take their hand. And it's, it's the rally cry. It's called the chop for the Atlanta Braves. Okay. Well, now the calls are that the chop is racist. Play the video. Atlanta's not listening to the media. Thank God. Promise. 50,000 people doing the chop. That's how you silence these idiots. That's how you silence the people who are going to call for the chop to be extinguished. 50,000 people basically giving the media the middle finger. And no, it's not racist. It has nothing to do about being racist towards Indians, American Indians. It's not racist at all whatsoever. Now, the other thing that's out there I just absolutely love, and I want to kind of conclude the program with this, is Let's Go Brandon. I think Let's Go Brandon is one of the most sensational phenomenons I've ever seen in my lifetime. No, do you remember the ice bucket challenge? The ice bucket challenge where people were going around throwing buckets of water on each other. It was to try to help. I don't know if it was maybe been autism, or I don't know what it was. But one guy just started doing it as a way of raising money, and then the whole internet went on fire with the ice bucket challenge. Well, Let's Go Brandon is sort of like that, but on steroids. Now, I want to give you the history of Let's Go Brandon. I should have had this video. It would have made it even easier. But there was a NASCAR race, and the driver's name was Brandon. And Brandon was being interviewed by, I think it was an ESPN or maybe an NBC reporter. I can't remember. But she was interviewing Brandon, and she couldn't get the interview conducted because in the back, all the fans were chanting, "Fuck Joe Biden." Fuck Joe Biden. It was fantastic. So the woman who was doing the interview, instead of saying, "Hey, we can't," as you can hear, "we can't do this interview because they're saying fuck Joe Biden," she pulls a total liberal lie out of her ass and says, "Yeah, we can't hear them because they're chanting, 'Let's go Brandon.'" It was so fitting to what the media does and how the media manipulates everything and everybody. So Let's Go Brandon became a battle cry that's short for or code for fuck Joe Biden. Okay. Over the weekend, I think it was a reporter from the AP. It was somebody who worked for the Associated Press. I don't know if it was a reporter or not. Maybe been a reporter. This woman is going on vacation. She's flying Southwest. And she alleges that the pilot got over the intercom system and said, "Let's go Brandon." Now, she took issue with that because, there's no place for politics in the blue skies, which I agree with. I agree with wholeheartedly. If you go on an airplane and that guy or gal who's flying the airplane has a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris sticker on his briefcase, I'm still going to pray for his success because his failure means my failure. So I agree. Just like there's no place for politics in Coca-Cola or in social media, meaning Facebook should be staying out of it, Google should be staying out of it, athletes should stay out of it. Politics is politics. That's your and my our rights, our constitutional rights to assemble and freedom of speech and to have discourse about how we feel politically about things. But the left is now calling for the Southwest Airlines pilot to lose his job, that he has no place in flying if it's Let's Go Brandon. In fact, one CNN commentator went as crazy as to say that Let's Go Brandon is the equivalent of Let's Go ISIS. ISIS, a group that cuts people's heads off and then puts videos of it up on the internet, is going to be compared to a pilot who does not agree with Joe Biden's politics. Now, at the very beginning of this program, I started with the Meet the Press, what was that, report about the new study that's out showing that the majority of Americans, the big, huge majority of Americans, don't agree with Joe Biden. He's down as low as 37% in terms of approval in some places. And one of the questions was, is he competent? 37% of America said he was competent. Well, how many of those 30% aren't competent themselves? So with that being said, the calls for Let's Go Brandon to stop, the calls for Let's Go Brandon to be eliminated any single way on social media. If somebody says, let's go, Brandon, it should be pulled. It's the equivalent of putting out fake information about COVID-19, like the fake photography session with the leaders who put a mask on for the sake of the photo op and then they took them off. They want to eliminate Let's Go Brandon, which is, like I said, code word for fuck Joe Biden. But it was amazing to me, though, that when Donald J. Trump was in office, they didn't call for the same things. Let's get up Robert De Niro, one of the biggest names in Hollywood, Robert De Niro, on television during the Tony Awards, television, mind you. And here's what he said at the Tony Awards.
I'm going to say one thing. Fuck Trump.
Standing ovation.
It's no longer down with Trump. It's fuck Trump.
One of the biggest names in Hollywood over the past 40 years can get up there and say, no longer down with Trump, fuck Trump. Not once, but twice. Gets a standing ovation. And the media never called for him to be removed from national television. Because look, you can say all you want about the dangers of flying and that, oh my God, well, my God, he must be pro-Trump. He's not a good pilot. Please. This guy is there on television saying all these different things. Why didn't anybody call for whoever it was who aired that to lose their license to broadcast live television? None of the calls for that. None of the calls for that at all. Let's get the next video up. Madonna. If you don't know Madonna, she had that song, Like a Virgin. Let me tell you something. Madonna's anything but a virgin, right? Like a bimbo. That's more like it. Remember what she said about Donald J. Trump and the White House? You want to talk about domestic terrorists? Mommy and daddies get up and say, yeah, I really don't think Susie should be wearing a mask. She can't breathe during math class. She's a domestic terrorist. But this bimbo, Madonna, she's not a domestic terrorist, even though she said this.
I'm angry. Yes, I am outraged. Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House. But I know that this won't change anything.
She wanted to blow up the White House. But yeah, she wanted to blow up the White House. That was Madonna. No problem there. That's not domestic terrorism. That's not a problem. And then, of course, you've got a rapper. And the rapper has thousands upon thousands of people live at his show. Remember this?
When I say fuck, you say Trump. Fuck Trump. Fuck Trump. When I say fuck, you say Trump. Fuck Trump. Fuck Trump.
So that's that. There you go. Fuck Trump is okay. I'm going to blow up the White House is okay. Fuck Trump on national television by Robert De Niro is okay. But one pilot who says, let's go Brandon, he should lose his job. He should lose his job. Folks, let me tell you something. The smartest, bestest thing that you can do is continue to everything you do. I don't care where you go, everything you do, let's go Brandon. The more we say it, the more it will drive them crazy. The more we say it, the more people will realize that they're just going to shut the F up. At some point, they're going to realize, just like I think people are starting to realize, that every time the media complains about something, if we take it and throw it to the extra level, they'll stop complaining about it. Let them pour fuel on a fire. Everything you do, you could go order 3 hamburgers from McDonald's. Please don't do that. But you could go order 3 hamburgers from McDonald's. This is what I want you to do. Yeah, hi, could I have 3 hamburgers, a large fry, a large Diet Coke? I don't know why you're getting a Diet Coke. You might as well go the whole way. Coke, you're going 3 hamburgers and fries. Could I have 3 hamburgers, large fries, and a large Diet Coke? I'm so used to saying it. Large Diet Coke. Let's go, Brandon. Everything you do. You pull in, if you're in New Jersey, New Jersey, where you're not allowed to pump your own gas, you go up to a gas station, guy says, yeah, what do you got? Yeah, fill it up with unleaded, please. Let's go, Brandon. Everything you do, even if you go inside and you try to make love to your wife, hey, honey, you look beautiful tonight. What do you think? You want to go upstairs, baby? Let's go, Brandon. Everything is let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Even if you're sitting on the throne after a hearty breakfast, when you're all done, as you flush the toilet bowl, let's go, Brandon. Make it part of your life. Make sure you say it. If you post something on Instagram, you post something on Facebook, even if you're posting something on Facebook like, hey, having a Mary Kay party this weekend. If anybody wants to come, love, let's go, Brandon. That's what I want you to do. That's the bestest thing we can do. We need change. We need Joe Biden and the Democrats to basically be out of office everywhere. I'm going to end this program with a video out of New York City. And it is reflective of Democrat leadership. A man is standing outside of a bodega, lights a firebomb, and throws it in. Actually, it's a delicatessen. Look what he does at. And then he goes to do it a second time. And thankfully, the man standing in the back grabs his arm so he doesn't do it twice. That's what people are doing in New York City. That's what's happening. Keep it playing. That's what's happening across the country. You know? Meanwhile, just so you know, Jen Psaki has COVID, but it's not that bad because she had a vaccine. That's it for me. DML CBD remains the exclusive sponsor. We always have the greatest product in. You could buy a 1, 3-pack, or 10-pack of any item that's on there. Give it a shot. If you haven't looked at it yet, look, boosting the immune system, there's never been a more important time. And that's the case. That's the truth. That's it for me. Until the next time, may God bless you, our troops, these United States, our families, and let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
This podcast is produced by Anita Griffey, Lori McLean, and yours truly. And you could subscribe by going to the Apple Podcasts page and search for Dennis Michael Lynch Podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Or you can download the DML News app from the Google Play Store for Android phones and the Apple App Store for iPhones. And do not forget to visit our sponsor, DMLCBD.com, so this way you can feel great again.